Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Harold Dyke, founder of Silex Software. Thank you so much for joining today's event on introducing a new way of creating management packs. It's great to see the level of interest we have in today's event, and it's great to see the interest in the community for continuing to develop management packs. And we're happy to have you on board. Along with me is Mike Sargent, our senior most developer, and Mike will be along to answer questions that you may have and monitor that chat window, as well as give us a demonstration of some of the capabilities that we're introducing today. And so, Mike, can you just confirm you're able to see my opening screen?
I can see the screen and yourself.
Perfect. Okay, thanks. Thanks so much. So, so today we're going to be talking about a new approach to authoring management packs, and you may ask the question. I think it's natural to ask the question. Well, we've been helping organizations like yours for close to 20 years now, creating management packs. Why now? Why are we introducing this new methodology after being in this business for so long? Why didn't we do something sooner? And well, we'll try and answer that question for you. We have been working hard over the course of really the business on supporting as many authoring scenarios as possible. And as we all know, there are many options when you're creating management packs. There are many different scenarios for authoring management packs, and we've tried hard within our products to support that very broad set of options and capabilities. And so, we sort of focused on the depth and the breadth within our product. But now, there's really a convergence of a number of things that we have done, both in terms of technology as well as, better understanding our customers' environments that have led us down this path to present a new opportunity, a new option for authoring management packs, and really, looking at things like what are the most common scenarios for authoring management packs, and how can we simplify those scenarios? And as I said, we're also leaning on some new technology that we're developing, and some of which we'll talk about here today. So just by way of logistics, we do want this to be an interactive session. We do want your questions. So please use that Teams chat window to interact with us. Again, we'll always have somebody monitoring those questions. We'll do our best to answer as many as we can throughout today's session. As well, we will be sending out a survey after the event, and we really encourage you to complete the survey. It's only going to take a minute or two. The survey is very helpful for us to improve events like the one we're hosting here today, and really interested to understand, what other subjects would you want to have covered? What areas can we do better at in terms of hosting these events? And even, asking questions like, is Microsoft Teams the right forum for these events? And these sessions are being recorded, so if you do have to step away, we will make sure to send out recordings when we are finished. And so to begin with, let me back up. Let's talk about our agenda. And the first thing we want to do is just talk about some of the challenges with management pack authoring. I suspect many of you, perhaps most of you, even perhaps all of you, have authored management packs at some point in time. And we'll just cover some of the common challenges with authoring management packs. We'll touch on briefly the current set of solutions. So what options do you have today to create management packs? And then we'll sort of dive right into this new approach that we are promoting today in regards to management pack authoring. And we'll spend most of our time showing you as opposed to trying to describe it to you and talking it through. So, to begin with, as we all know, MP Author, there are challenges to creating management packs. And, perhaps if you've ever talked to somebody about authoring management packs, if you've asked a colleague or perhaps a developer or a stakeholder to create a management pack, maybe you've had this look that this gentleman is giving us in the slide, a look of bewilderment, a look of confusion, perhaps a look of fear, to think, oh my goodness, I have to create a SCOM management pack. What do I do? Where do I start? The most fundamental issue is the complexity around SCOM itself. As we all know, SCOM is a very, very complex environment. It's a lot of technology that's sort of woven together. And I think very much from an engineering perspective, was how they built the tool. They built it. It's an engineering tool built from with an engineering application. And so SCOM itself is highly complex, and the current methodologies to build a management pack really require an understanding of SCOM and an understanding of how SCOM works. What references do you need to add to your management pack? How do discoveries work? How does health aggregate and get rolled up? There are many relationships that exist between objects within SCOM that you at times need to take into account when you're creating a management pack. And at the end of the day, the very lowest level of a management pack, it's an XML document. And obviously XML, extremely complex, a very complex schema, and something that most of us try to avoid, even though for the most part we can't. Certainly a lot of commercial MP development, which we've done, and even MPs for line of business applications, and either less sophisticated types of scenarios still require some level of XML editing. As I said, there are a number of tools that are available. Tools themselves are complex, or they're expensive, or they're both. And I'll touch on some of our tools, which are I wouldn't describe them as expensive, but they are certainly our licensed products, which can present challenges to acquiring those products. And fundamentally, when you're creating a management pack, you still need to build a good health. You still need to have a good health model in mind. You do need to understand your application. You do need to understand the important, the key metrics of your application. What's important? What do you need to look at? What do you need to sort of trace through in terms of application flow? But that is really at the heart, I think, of any authoring scenario is that health model. But when you get into MP authoring, there are just so many options when creating MP elements that can be overwhelming. And I think in many cases, less is more. Simplifying things to the extent possible makes that authoring experience easier and more accessible to people that aren't necessarily SCOM experts. And something that we've learned firsthand, we see it in our customers all the time, that MPs that are built using a standard methodology, using a standard framework, a standard approach, are much, much easier to maintain going forward than MPs that are sort of built on an ad hoc basis. And that's especially true, and that really gets highlighted in a lot of cases when the migrations happen, when you're migrating from one SCOM environment to another. Perhaps you're looking at SCOM MI and want to move management packs up to SCOM MI from an older version of SCOM. So that MP ensuring a non-standardized approach is avoided when you're authoring MPs certainly pays large dividends down the road. So what are the options with authoring management packs? Well, many of us probably have started with the SCOM console and used the wizards in the console to attempt to create MP elements. The console is limited. It certainly doesn't cover the breadth of scenarios that SCOM is able to monitor. It doesn't deal with really any MP lifecycle issues such as version control and change management. XML editing, as I touched on before, is something that likely we have all done at some point in time. It is a requirement in many scenarios where whatever tool you're using doesn't give you the necessary option to be able to make a change or to be able to customize that MP to exactly your requirements. But XML, of course, has its own complexities in terms of being error prone, easy to make mistakes, have to understand some of the schematics of it. Visual Studio and authoring extensions is a powerful way of creating management packs. There's a very steep learning curve if you're not already familiar with Visual Studio. The authoring extensions does simplify that to a certain extent, but you do need a license, and it's not an inexpensive tool. The products from Silect, I think they're great tools, of course, as you would expect, I would say that, but in many cases, we do try and simplify the authoring experience as best we can. Wizard-driven, also giving you the ability to drop down and to do some more sophisticated and complex types of editing, but the tools are licensed, and so that can be a barrier to some as well. And more recently, in speaking to many of our customers, I'm seeing more and more automation as a way of authoring management packs, and seeing some really, really powerful implementations of automation to be able to create new monitoring scenarios, to be able to update monitoring scenarios. And that's an area that you'll be hearing about more from us in the weeks and months to come, to help from an authoring perspective, to be able to help automate some of those common types of operations. And so that sort of leads us, when we look at the complexity, you look at the tooling, you look at the requirements, have sort of got us thinking about it, defining a new approach. And really, at the end of the day, what we're working towards is making SCOM easier. And MP authoring and setting up monitoring is one area, but certainly the end goal for us is to make this SCOM easier to use. And I had an opportunity to work with another tool set, a product called Grafana, recently, and became just really, really impressed at just how simple it was to set up some pretty basic monitoring within Grafana. And I do some website monitoring and doing some application tracing, and it just made it really, really easy. And I compared that to doing the same thing in SCOM, and really, unfortunately, there's no comparison. So our goal is to ultimately make setting up monitoring easier in SCOM, and setting up or changing monitoring settings easier in SCOM. And again, this first step that we're taking is to help with the MP authoring side of things. We do expect to do more down the road, but we want to make it easy. And we also want to make it powerful. So we don't want to take away the richness of SCOM and the capabilities of SCOM by making it easy. We want to still empower you to be able to leverage all those capabilities. And we also want to make sure the tooling is broadly available and accessible to you when you need it, where you need it. And we still want to maintain that consistent approach. We still want to leverage that framework when we are creating management packs, to make sure that maintenance of those management packs is as easy as possible down the road. So how are we doing this? Well, this new approach is really focused on, instead of working with MP elements, we want to sort of raise our level of thinking to workflows, and to allow users to work in the context of a workflow as opposed to an individual SCOM element. To allow them to, for example, with a couple of, perhaps filling out a couple of parameters, to be able to monitor a website, or to be able to look for a series of critical events, as opposed to having the user to define each one of these elements individually. Let that user work in the context of a workflow, of a common SCOM workflow, and make the selection of the appropriate workflow much more easier, much more intuitive than it is today. And to be able to, in some cases, also limit the available sort of options that are available when creating workflows and adding workflows to a management pack. And as I said, we want to ensure the availability of this capability exists to you and to your community of users when you need it, where you need it. And so, under the covers, what are we doing by supporting workflows? Well, we're introducing this thing called an NPF. And an NPF is simply a file. It's a container that has references to fragments, which are workflows, as well as the parameters being used within those fragments. And so it can also have references to management pack, other MP elements as well, if that's something that's required. But one of the, again, this approach, by using MPFs and by using these basically pointers to fragments, it allows us to think more in the context of workflows as opposed to individual SCOM monitoring elements. And the references to the fragments are dynamic, so that when a fragment gets updated, the MP will get updated as well. And then we use a process, and for lack of a better word, I'm going to call it compiling. We compile that MPF once it's completed, and compile that into a management pack that SCOM can understand. Now, a lot of this happens under the covers, so let's go ahead and show you what that looks like and describe that to you in a little bit more sort of in a hands-on way. So I am going to share up my screen here. So we're looking at the so here I've logged into the Silect Operations Portal Managed Instance. So this is cloud.silect.com. This is something that we introduced, I'm not sure, maybe it was about a month ago or so. And it's a new service that we're offering online for free. And so you can sign up for free. And I want to use this to be able to showcase that new MPF capability. So I'm going to go ahead and log in to the portal MI. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new management pack. So let's give it a name. New MPF file. I'm going to save it. So one of the things the cloud offers is an online store capability. So I've got a folder dedicated to my own purposes. I can create a folder structure underneath that if necessary. So I'm going to save the MP file in that store folder. I'm going to choose the references that we use. So I'm just going to leave the default to SCOM 2020-22. And the next question here is a very important one. So I have two different options when I'm creating this management pack. I can create a traditional SCOM management pack and add individual elements to that MP and work perhaps very much the same way as I work today, adding elements through maybe a tool like the SCOM console. But today, of course, we're going to show you this new MPF capability that we're going to use to help simplify the operation of creating management packs. So what's going to happen when I'm creating this MPF file? The very first thing it's going to ask me to do is identify which workflow I want to add to the management pack. And in these workflows, what you're seeing is under the covers, these are fragments. These are fragments either that are available in the community, they're fragments that we've contributed to as well. You can use your own fragments within your organization if you've created them. And something that we've done here is we've added the ability to give a more friendly descriptive name to the fragment. So historically, at least within our tools, the fragment file would appear, and then you'd have a description beside it. We can customize the name of that workflow to better describe, exactly what it is it's going to do. And because I am putting myself in the shoes of the application owner, I've got an understanding of the health model of the application. I understand first that I need to discover the application. So I'm going to select that discovery workflow. Discover, and actually the scenario we're using here today is we're going to monitor the on-premise edition of the Silect Operations Portal. So we're going to give it some details here. I know that the registry key is what I use to identify or rather discover the application. So I'm going to add that workflow to my MPF file. So now we have a single workflow associated with discovery of the portal. Next, the portal runs as a service. So I'm going to look through my list of fragments here to find the monitoring of the service. So again, we're going to add some information here about the service that we're monitoring. It does require me to select the class. So how do I want to target this particular monitor? Well, we'll use that class that we just created in the first step. And silect.portal.web.exe is the service, and just call that service. So there's my second workflow. And as you see, as I'm adding these workflows, I can always go back and make changes, if necessary to them. I can go and edit the parameters associated with this particular workflow, or I can remove the workflow altogether. I know there are a few really, really important events that I want to check for. And so let's go ahead and choose an event. So let's check for critical events. Portal, again, I'll target that same class. 6, application log. And let's give it a class name. And so there I've got the makings of a management pack that's going to discover the portal. It's going to monitor the state of the service. It's going to check for any critical events that are created by the portal service itself. The last thing I'm going to do is add a synthetic transaction to actually, ping the service and make sure that it's being responsive. And so I'm going to monitor the website. And let's just say monitor the website. Again, I can choose. This is actually asking me for, I'm going to choose a different class for running the synthetic transaction. It's going to ask me for some threshold information, site, and the select file. Okay, go ahead and add that. So now I've got my NPF file. I've got 4 workflows defined in that NPF. As I look back, if I were to come back to this and take a look at this in the future, I can get a pretty good understanding of what this does just based on the workflows that have been added. The next thing I want to do now is bring this into my SCOM environment. And so earlier in the slides, I talked about this, quote unquote, compile type of operation. That's going to turn what we've worked on so far, what we've developed here so far, into an actual management pack. The way I'm going to do that is because obviously I need to first of all download this. So when I click the download, that's when that operation is going to take place, and it's going to, and here we see the webinar XML file. It's going to take that MPF and those definitions, those workflows that I've created and the parameters that I've created, and it's going to turn it into a management pack that SCOM can understand. And so here, as we look at the XML, I can see the references, I can see class definitions. Looks like we've got a script here looking at, I think this for the website monitor. And we've got a bunch of other things. And I'm not going to go into all the sort of the gory details of all these other aspects of the XML file. But nevertheless, you can see that we've got a fairly sophisticated management pack that we've built here. Let's go ahead and import that into my SCOM environment. Add that from the disk. I don't need to look at the catalog. There's my management pack. Let's go ahead and install that. So that will take a minute or two to get installed into my SCOM environment. While that was quick. It looked like it did that already. Perfect. And what we should see, and this will take a little while before it actually starts doing its thing. But what we will see is a new view in our monitoring tab where we can view the performance of our website. And so, at this point in time, SCOM is going to, go and discover instances of the portal. It's going to monitor the service. It's going to look for critical events. And it's also going to do some synthetic transactions on that website using those 4 workflows that we defined in the portal. And now if I go back to the portal, and again, just to give you a view of sort of what's happening under the covers, when I did the download of the management pack, it actually created that management pack file in the portal itself. And if I go into my view here and I look into my own webinar folder, we automatically create a folder called output. And that's where I've got to do a refresh. Sorry. It actually creates that management pack in that output folder before I download it. And so, if I want to work, again, using the Select cloud, if I want to work with that management pack in the traditional way, meaning if I want to work with individual elements, add or remove elements or make, changes to them, add additional components, I can do that all through this cloud interface. And I can, view the various properties of each one of these, in this case, monitors that was developed. And I can, I can flip over and edit this as well and make changes to the output management pack if necessary. So, so again, let's go back and just take a look at that MPF file. If I ever need to come back and make changes to those workflows, I can simply open it up. This is a view mode. I can come back in here and edit the MPF file. And again, make changes to the existing workflows that are defined, add new workflows or remove them if necessary. So that's a quick look at how we work with this new MPF format in the Select cloud. I'm going to hand things over to Mike, who's going to show us how to work with MPF files within our MP Studio product. So, Mike, handing things over to you.
Thank you, Harold. I was just replying to a comment in the chat window. So let's just quickly share, and I'll go through what we can do on-prem. So we want to share this window, and there we go. And while I'm here, I'll stop annoying you guys and turn off my camera. Can I do that? Let me just stop sharing for a second, then I can turn the camera off. There we go. So on the ease of use, you've seen how easy it is to use the Select portal. Now I'm going to show you how to do the same sorts of things in MP Studio. Now, MP Studio is not designed to be as easy to use as the portal, but it provides some greater capability, some more flexibility here. So you've got more choices. That makes things a little more difficult, but it gives you greater options in some ways. So let's start off by creating a new management pack. So we're going to create one in the testing folder here. I am going to give it a name that I have already typed in here so I don't have to mistype in front of you. And I want to create the corresponding MPF file here. And when this is done, this is going to create a base MP, which can be edited independently. It's going to create an MPF file where we add the fragments. And when we build it, it's going to create it in this output folder that's been specified here. Here we can specify, as you saw in the portal, which versions of SCOM to use. I'll target 2022, same as Harold did. And we're going to just create an empty management pack here. Now, one of the really useful things in MP Studio is this filter. So this list has literally thousands of MPs in various folders here, just a ridiculous number. This is my development library, and I have sort of almost every version of every MP that I've been able to get my hands on in here. It's sort of a ridiculous level. But if we want to just work with one thing, I'm just going to type in some keywords here, hit enter, and it filters the output. You'll notice that we have this MP file that was created. We have the MPF file that was created, and it opens by default the MP file. But when we create an MPF file, we really probably should be editing that. So that's something that may change. Here's our MPF file. There's some parameters here, path and fragment folder path, that sort of stuff that are by default set. You probably won't need to change them. So let's just get right to it, and we're going to add a fragment. Now, here we have a search dialog, so we can search for what we want. I've got 143 fragments loaded here. I encourage customers to reduce the number of fragments down to the ones you want. I've imported sort of everything we've got available here, but you really don't need to do that. So let's look for discoveries, and we want discoveries that talk about registry. And so here we've reduced our list down to a very reasonable level. So I'm going to use this class and discovery registry key exists fragment, and then we're going to put in some parameters here. Now, most of these have already been filled in. Select MPF webcast because I was working on this earlier, but I want to show things like the registry browser that's built in here so that you can go through your whole registry and select things directly. You can also work on different computers, okay? So while I'm looking at my local system here, you can work on different computers here. I'm just going to change that key. And I'm going to give this a name of first, and you'll see why, because I'm going to change this later. Below here, you see everything that's going to be created. So we're going to create a class. We're going to have a discovery. It's going to discover that class. It tells how it's going to be discovered, etc. But that's stuff you really don't need to know about. Really, only the parameters here. You know that we're going to do a registry discovery, the key here, that sort of stuff. That's all you really need to know about, and that's all we record. So in this line here, we have, we're going to use that fragment. Here's a list of the parameters. It's a bit longer than shows up here, but that's fine. The next thing I wanted to do is we want to import and add a service. So in this case, we want to do a search again. We want a monitor, which is the first one here. We want to monitor for services. There we go. We're going to create a monitor service with alert. Again, we've remembered that the company ID and app name are the same. The class name here is out of date, so I'm just going to go here and I'm going to pick the class that we have already defined in this MPF. And you'll see that the blue text there, defined in MPF file, these always show up at the top of the list here. We're going to browse for a service name. And this is something that while we could do in a web-based tool, it's very difficult, especially if you're talking about browsing to a different machine. So this is something that we can do in MP Studio. It's probably a little easier. We're just going to look for power here. It doesn't really matter. And our unique ID, I'll just leave it at first here. So there we have a fragment, sorry, an MPF file that's going to discover the existence of an application, and it's going to monitor a service everywhere that that application exists. So just going through the various steps here, I'm going to save that. And you'll see we now have 2 versions here. I'm going to validate that MPF. Now, it's very quick and tells me there are no errors. That's fine. And then I'm going to build it. Build is that compile step that Harold was talking about. This is where we load this base MP. We take this version of the MPF file. We apply these fragments. We apply them in a suitable order so that fragments that define classes are imported before fragments that use those classes, even if they're not in the correct order here in the table. And we create this output file. The output file has this class. It has the discovery in it. It has the monitors in it. So we've wrapped all this stuff up. I guess I don't need to do that. But in particular, I want to point out that this is Webcast first class. And the monitor, I shouldn't have actually hidden target because that was what we really want to see here, is targeting select MPF webcast.first.class. So if we come back into our MPF and we change this, and I'm going to change the unique ID just to second here, just for simplicity. I'm just changing parameters. We might have changed the registry key, but it's going to change the name of this class. So the class ID now is .second.class. When I do that, we've automatically gone through and noted that other fragments were using that old class name, and we've updated them. You'll note here that it automatically is now using second class because first class no longer exists. There may be cases where we can't do that automatic conversion, but we definitely will be trying to do it when we can. So if I was to do another build here, we see the differences. We'll get a new version here in the MP file in the output directory. And here our class name is second class, and our monitor is going to be targeting second class. Where's our target? Where's our target? Oh, right there. It's still wrapped up. Select MPF Webcast second class. So that's, see my notes here. I'm not sure if there's anything else there. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. I don't know if there's any questions right now. While I'm presenting, I can't actually see the list here.
Yeah, Michael. So yeah, I'll if you can look for any questions that might have come in during your session, and I'll take the screen back. Thanks very much for that.
Great.
So yeah, as Mike has demonstrated, obviously there is some good support for authoring MPFs and working with MPFs in MP Studio as well. I like my approach better, Mike. Just as an aside, working with the portal and working with that interface. We think it's it's a great approach. And again, I'm going to go back to what our goal is ultimately, which is to make working with SCOM easier. Obviously, today we're talking about working with management packs and creating management packs, editing management packs. And just to sort of put some quantifiable things related to what we're talking about today, I created an MPF file. I created four workflows in my management pack, which translates into about 18 SCOM elements: discoveries, rules, monitors. There's language packs. There's some other things. And in XML, it translates to about 840 lines worth of XML code. So I think just, based on those numbers alone, I think we're making progress. I think we're helping get to the point where creating management packs, changing management packs is going to be easier. I think it's going to simplify the maintenance of those management packs. As Mike has shown, making changes to classes, or as I've shown through the portal, making changes to the workflows that are part of a management pack is simplified using this approach with MPFs. But we're also doing some other work as well. And so, the last thing I wanted to share with you is just the incorporation of some Power BI to help kind of further along help with the simplification of SCOM. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over, so we've been working with the cloud instance of the portal. This is the on-prem version of the portal. So it's basically same product running within your environment, either within your subscription or within your data centers. As you can see, we have a lot more options that we make available to enable really more of a self-service capabilities where stakeholders, application owners can go in and create their own reports, set their own notifications, set their own maintenance schedules. I have that full authoring capability that I showed you earlier with regards to creating MPFs in the portal as well. But as I mentioned, we're incorporating some new visualizations in the portal. So when I go, for example, to look at a management pack, one of the things we hear about a lot from our customers is can you simplify kind of the understanding of what's inside a management pack? And we've got some work in progress where, in this table, we can see all the contents of a management pack. We can see all the elements. I have the ability to customize this view so I can organize it based on element type. We add some metadata to this view to give a better description of what it is. So this is still a very detailed table. And so we're introducing these new options, and maybe you've seen them in some other Microsoft products as well, where I can visualize a particular view. In this case, I'm going to visualize this management pack. And this is still very much a prototype view, but nevertheless, it's an interactive dashboard that allows me to see the targets that are defined within the management pack, the monitors and rules that are being applied to those targets. And I can click on any one of these items. I can view rules, in this case, unit monitors that are applied to this particular target. And I can see some details about exactly what is being monitored with that particular element. We're also applying that to agent workflow. So one of the other areas where we get asked a lot about is, can we simplify a report showing what's being monitored on an agent? So I just had a conversation yesterday with a customer of ours using this agent workflow report, which shows you all the SCOM workflows running on an agent, as well as any of the overrides that are also running on that same agent. So it's going to give you this report that we're generating is going to give us a very, very detailed view of what SCOM is monitoring on a particular endpoint within the environment. As you can see, it takes a minute or two to actually generate the report because it is fairly lengthy. But here we can see all the rules, monitors, discoveries running. These lines in blue represent overrides, so I can see the effect of overrides. And this report, again, very flexible in terms of slicing and dicing. I can filter, I can export this out, but we're also introducing this visualization capability. So using the analytics power of Microsoft Power BI, we're able to visualize these results a little bit more to show you the discovered objects. And when I click on a discovered object, we're able to show you the monitors and rules that are being applied to that particular object. And if we want to learn more about any one of these individual items, we can click on it to get more details about what this actually represents. And so a combination of this, sort of a more summary type of dashboard, this interactive report, together with this detailed report should really enable you to effectively answer the question, what's being monitored? How is my application being monitored? How is my infrastructure being monitored? And well, just to complete the circle, we're adding a couple of our existing Power BI reports into the portal as well. So as an administrator, we're adding a series of dashboards to help you understand the health of your SCOM environment. Here's an agent overview. We've got, I think, 10 or so different dashboards to show you information to help you understand kind of what's going on within your SCOM environment itself. And we've also thrown in an alert summary dashboard to help you visualize alerts that are occurring within your environment and organizing those alerts and maybe seeing some trends associated with those alerts. So those are some of the new things we're doing to further help, with that idea of making SCOM easier to work with. And we're taking small steps, but we're going to continue down that path to help, help make SCOM just a more an easier tool to work with and make it more accessible, so that stakeholders within your organization don't feel intimidated working with SCOM, don't feel intimidated to create management packs or to edit management packs. And so just before we wrap up, some next steps: understand that MPFs are supported across our MP Studio product, as well as the portal, managed instance, which I was showing you. You can start using that today. So the Silac Cloud is available for free. You can sign up at cloud.silac.com. If you're interested in running some of the on-prem tool, whether it's MP Studio or the portal, just send us an email and we'll send you out a copy of the product to use within your environment. And I mentioned here, the portal in my also includes free MP backup. So we include some other things out of the box at no charge. So that brings us to the conclusion of today's webinar. Mike, are there any outstanding questions that you'd like to highlight at this point?
I realize my mic's been on. Hope I haven't said anything stupid. No, I think we're pretty much all caught up. I'm just responding to some here. Sorry if you heard me typing.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, in that case, we will continue to answer any questions that might that might have been unanswered so far. And but with that, we are going to close the webinar. We thank you so much for your attendance today. Please do keep an eye out for that survey and return that to us as soon as you can. And again, if you've sort of enjoyed what you've seen here and want to try out MPF, working with MPF files for yourself, please sign up at cloud.silac.com. So with that, I want to once again thank you all very much for your time today.